Hello, 大家好 and apa khabar semua? I'm your host Calvin Tate, and you are now tuned into another episode of the TWIG Mini. On the lineup today, we have quite an interesting news, starting off with the elephant in the room that cost $7.5 billion. Among Us, maybe or maybe not having a sequel, Cyberpunk2077's Gangs, and something along the lines of MGS remake or remaster. I'm not too sure, so let's find out. So without further ado, let's do this show. Starting with the first news, we'll be talking about the MGS remake. So this YouTube channel called Red Tag Gaming or Red Gaming Tag, I'm not too sure. They are a tech review YouTube channel that somehow broke the news that MGS might be getting a remake. So as usual, just take it with a grain of salt. So it looks like the Metal Gear series will be getting a remastered treatment according to the YouTube channel that broke the news, Red Gaming Tag. They came out and said that the original MGS game, MGS1, will be completely remade, but its sequels such as MGS2, MGS3 will only be getting the HD remaster treatment. So what this means is MGS1 will be getting a complete remake from top to bottom. What this means is they will be remaking the entire game. Think of, what's that game, Jeff? Resident Evil. Right, yeah. Resident Evil, right? Yeah. Resident Evil has been getting that remake master and we all played it. I've seen Jeff stream it. It was beautiful. The sequels, MGS2, MGS3 will be getting the 1080p HD remastered treatment. Think of Nintendo's 35th anniversary's All-Star, slapping on a whole HD filter, making it high def, making it ready for the next gen console. I did duck a little deeper. I fell into a rabbit hole and found out that the GOG Marketplace has also, well, they kind of showcased, well, not showcased, but they kind of showed us that Konami might be coming out with this thing called the Konami Pack. So what the Konami Pack means is we might not only get the MGS remaster, but we might be getting Castlevania, Silent Hill, Contra, and well, that's kind of it, right? Think of Konami's golden years, right? All the great games that we played from PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, you name it, you've seen it, you've played it. Apparently, they might be coming out with a whole remastered treatment. No news so far when it's going to come out. Take it with a grain of salt, right? Like I always say, grain of salt, rumor mills, don't take it seriously. Might not happen, we'll never know. Moving on to the next news, we'll be talking about the most anticipated game of the year. Of course, I'm talking about Cyberpunk 2077. This time around, they have came out and somewhat revealed all the gangs that we will be seeing within Night City. It's not one, it's not two, it's not three, it's 9 different gangs. Well, this trailer showcased 9 different factions from Millstorm, 6th Street, Tiger Claws to the Moxes. Well, if you don't know who they are basically just fragmented gangs within Night City. You can find them in different places within Night City, starting from the 6th Street. You can find them on the southeast side of Santo Domingo. The Wraith Outlaw, which is basically the Nomads gang, you can find them out on the southeast side of the Badlands. Animals, for example, they're in the central Night City called Haywood. CDPR has also came out and said that you can't join any of the gangs, but personally what we think here in Epic Arcades is that there might be a reputation system, right? You can maybe befriend them, do quests for them, and your reputation increase. At the same time, we also have a theory if you befriend this faction, you might make enemies with the other factions. Again, not much has been released. These are just things that we think might happen, again, with a grain of salt. Personally, I expected 3 to 4 different factions, but looking at how we have 9 different gangs out there, the gameplay might be very repetitive depending on if you're choosing the Nomad, the Corporate life, or the Street Kid life. So well, I'm definitely excited for this. Jeff, what do you think?
Definitely joining the raids.
Right? Yeah, I am definitely Tiger Claw, right? Among Us, the game that everyone's been playing. Well, I trust Jeff, right? You can't see if he's right behind the camera. I trust Jeff. But when it comes to Among Us, dude, it's a free-for-all. You can't trust anyone. Everyone has been talking about it, from top streamers to even your mothers, right? I don't know. Maybe she's playing it. Can you trust her? Is she sus? We don't know. So the developers of Among Us, Innersloth, has announced that they will be coming out with Among Us 2, but they kind of did a U-turn and decided to, well, skip on Among Us 2. Whatever they have planned for Among Us 2 will be replanned for Among Us 1. Why they did this is because I think it would, well, they are a 3-man team. It would be a huge task for them to basically recreate a brand new game. Whatever updates they have, personally I feel that it's good because I wouldn't want to splurge another 12 ringgit on the game itself. It's just not worth it, come on man, right? What we know so far, and I quote, "We have decided to cancel Among Us 2 and instead put all our focus into improving Among Us 1. The developers has said that all the contents we have planned for Among Us 2 will instead go to Among Us 1. This is probably the most difficult choice because it means going deep into the core code of the game and reworking several parts of it. Well, what this means is, personally, I feel that they wouldn't want to have a brand new engine recreating the game from scratch. They would revisit the old game, revisit the code, well, brush up the code, finesse it, make it nice, polish it, and basically give you a game that they feel like you deserve to play. Among Us, it's a very small game, 13 MB. It took me 3 seconds to download, right? So what we know so far is they will be definitely adding new server, improving on the servers that we have been playing on. Well, if you've been playing the game, you know how broken the server is. Next thing they'll be updating will be the colorblind mode. People are colorblind, okay? And when you are colorblind, you can't really see the character's color, right? Apparently some people online has been, well, wrongly voting people out because they just can't see the colors. The next thing that they'll be adding is a friend system. Apparently now you will be able to add randos into your group. Well, have you been playing Among Us? If you have, you definitely know how broken it is if you are not playing among your friends. Get it? Among Us, among. Anyways, I digress. The last thing that they'll be adding is something I feel personally is the most exciting part, a brand new map. Apparently it will be a map that revolves around another Innersloth game called Henry Stickmin. I kind of googled it a while ago. Henry Stickmin is basically another game from Innersloth that is somewhat like a flash game. I don't know much about it honestly, so a new map, well, that's better than nothing for me. Now we're going to talk about the biggest elephant in the room that cost 7.5 billion with a B dollars. Well, $7.5 billion is about, give or take, 30 billion ringgit. You know how much you can do with 30 billion ringgit? Like Afiq said on the podcast, you can buy a lot of tacos with that. So this is the biggest acquisition in gaming. Well, I would say the second biggest. I'll tell you about the biggest in a bit. So the second biggest acquisition in the gaming industry, 7.5 billion. Microsoft has confirmed that they bought out Zenimax Studio that owns Arcane Studios, id Software, and Bethesda, to name a few, right? Altogether, they spent $7.5 billion on this acquisition. Zenimax Media is a umbrella of different game developers company from Alpha Dog Games, Arcane Studio, Bethesda Softwares, id Software, and Roundhouse Studios. Well, if you don't know who these studios are, I'm going to name the games for you. Dishonored, Prey, Wolfenstein, Deathloop, Skyrim, Fallout, Oblivion, Doom, Quake. Well, you get the picture. Basically, Microsoft just bought the biggest Western RPG studios in the world, right? When we talk about RPGs, we talk about, I don't know, games like Final Fantasy, Nier Automata, and all these JRPGs that we all love and know. Microsoft is looking at the biggest holdings when it comes to Western RPGs. Well, this is definitely a BDE move by Microsoft. They're fanning the flames of the console war. We have Xbox fighting PlayStation, PlayStation fighting Xbox, and people like me, the PC gamers, are just up there looking down like, what are these kids doing, right? The key takeaway is the future games that is released under the Zenimax umbrella will definitely come out for Xbox and PC. Other platforms will be evaluated on a per game basis, meaning that exclusive games will, well, might or might not come out on other platforms such as the PlayStation, Nintendo, or I don't know if Sega's still around. Well, if you're an Xbox user paying that $40, your library will be a lot fatter. Second thing that we know is Microsoft is now the biggest Western RPG creators in the world. Third thing, Microsoft has came out and said that exclusives such as Ghostwire and Deathloop will now be respected and will remain on PlayStation 5 roster for a year. Additionally, Pete Hines from Bethesda had said that Bethesda will stay semi-independent, publishing their own games. Well, do we foresee a New Vegas 2? well, that's something up for debates, right? So that's kind of the biggest elephant in the room. Tell me what you think, right? Do you think you'll be excited for the next MGS remastered? Would you be excited? What do you think about Microsoft buying all this big games company? What does it mean for the future of exclusivity or gaming in general? Tell us what you think in the comments below. And that's all the time we have for you guys this week. It's been one hell of a crazy week with so many things coming out. There is one thing coming out this week that we won't have time to cover, and that's the Tokyo Game Show. So definitely check that out next week when we have our TWIG Mini, TWIG Fat, our podcast. And speaking about podcasts, we will dive deep into whatever we talked about on this episode on our podcast, Epic Arcade TWIG. You can find it on Spotify, iTunes, Podchaser, or wherever podcast is casted on. I've been your host, Calvin Tay, and with me in the studio we have Jeff K behind you. Say hi.
Hey.
Hey Joe, you want to say hi, Joe?
Hello.
This has been Epic Arcade Mini, and we'll see you next week.